Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night with a pounding heart, a strange numbness in your arm, or a sudden sharp headache? You might have brushed it off as stress, a bad dream, or just part of getting older. But what if I told you there's something on your dinner plate, something you might eat almost every day, that could silently raise your stroke risk while you sleep? I know that sounds frightening. And as a brain doctor who spent decades treating seniors in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, I've seen far too many wonderful people suffer strokes that could have been prevented. It's not just genetics or high blood pressure. Often, it's something as simple and surprising as a popular food choice you've trusted your whole life. You deserve to know the truth. You deserve to feel safe, especially when you're resting at night. That's why I'm here, to share exactly what I tell my own patients. I want to help you protect your memory, your independence, and your ability to enjoy each day with energy and peace of mind. Today, I'm revealing the one common food that raises your stroke risk overnight, and I'll also explain why your brain reacts so dangerously to it, especially after the age of 60. Before we get started, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell, so you never miss a simple, science-backed health tip, designed especially for older adults like you. If you find this video helpful, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0. Your feedback is invaluable and helps me improve these videos for your benefit. Now, let's begin. 1. The silent brain killer, processed meats. Let me start by saying this: what I'm about to share might shock you, because for many of you watching, this food has been a part of your life since childhood. Bacon in the morning. Ham sandwiches for lunch. A few slices of salami during a family gathering. It seems harmless, comforting, even. But as a brain doctor, I've come to understand the devastating truth behind processed meats, and why they raise your stroke risk overnight. Processed meats include bacon, sausages, hot dogs, deli meats, and anything that's been smoked, salted, cured, or contains preservatives like nitrates or nitrites. These aren't just flavor enhancers. They're chemical time bombs, especially for your aging brain and cardiovascular system. Now you might be thinking, Dr. Rose, I've eaten bacon for years. I'm still here. And I hear you. But stroke risk is cumulative. It builds slowly, over decades. You don't feel it creeping in. You don't notice your arteries getting stiffer, your blood getting thicker, or your brain's delicate vessels weakening. But it's happening, quietly, dangerously, and processed meats are among the worst offenders. Here's what happens when you eat these meats, especially in the evening. Your body goes into overdrive to process the sodium and chemicals. Your blood pressure spikes. Your vessels constrict. And during sleep, when your circulation slows down naturally, this creates the perfect storm for a clot to form, or worse, for a vessel in your brain to rupture. In fact, studies from top neurological institutes show that seniors who eat processed meats more than 3 times a week are twice as likely to suffer a stroke compared to those who avoid them. That's not a small risk. That's a warning siren. Let me give you an example from my own clinic. One of my patients, let's call him Frank, was in his early 70s. Still active. Played cards every week. But he loved his cured meats. Every night before bed, he'd snack on smoked sausages. He said it helped him sleep. Until one morning, he didn't wake up on time. His wife found him slurring his words, confused, and unable to move one side of his body. He had suffered a stroke in his sleep. The CT scan showed damage in the part of his brain responsible for speech and memory. When we looked at his lifestyle, there were no major red flags, except for his nightly indulgence in high-sodium, processed meat. That consistent habit had quietly tightened his blood vessels and put tremendous stress on his brain's circulation. It wasn't genetics. It wasn't bad luck. It was a slow build-up from the food he thought was harmless. Now, I don't want to scare you. I want to empower you. Because the good news is, this is something you can control. You can choose to replace processed meats with healthier, brain-friendly proteins. Grilled chicken. Wild-caught salmon. Plant-based options like lentils, beans, or tofu. These foods nourish your vessels, reduce inflammation, and help regulate your blood pressure, even as you sleep. Also, keep in mind that stroke risk isn't just about heart health. It's about brain protection. Your brain needs a constant, steady flow of oxygen-rich blood. When processed meats interrupt that flow with sodium surges, clot formation, and vessel constriction, your risk of brain damage skyrockets. And once a stroke hits, recovery is slow, difficult, and incomplete, especially after age 60. I often tell my patients, you don't have to give up flavor to save your brain. You just have to stop feeding it poison in disguise. That's what processed meats are, disguised dangers. They might look appetizing. They might even bring back memories of childhood or family meals. But after the age of 60, your brain cannot afford the damage these foods silently cause overnight. And please remember, stroke doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle, sudden forgetfulness, trouble speaking clearly, weakness in one hand. These are warning signs your brain is being harmed. If you're regularly eating bacon, ham, or deli slices, especially at night, you're increasing your chance of waking up to one of those terrifying moments. So here's my advice. Start small. Skip the processed meats 1 day a week. Then 2. Gradually replace them with something better. Read the labels. Avoid anything that lists nitrate, nitrite, smoked, or cured. And if you need help adjusting your meals, speak to a nutritionist or your doctor. Your brain is worth protecting. Your mornings are worth waking up to, fully alert, pain-free, and in control. The food you eat tonight matters more than you think. Don't let a slice of bacon be the reason your life changes forever. 2. The hidden stroke trigger. White bread and refined carbohydrates. Now let's talk about something that's sitting right there on your kitchen table. Something that seems innocent, maybe even comforting. Toast in the morning. A sandwich at lunch. A dinner roll with your evening meal. I'm talking about white bread and other refined carbohydrates. Foods that rapidly turn into sugar in your body and put immense pressure on your brain's delicate blood vessels. You might be wondering how something as basic as bread could raise your stroke risk overnight. But here's what I've learned after years of studying brain health. When you're over 60, the way your body handles sugar and insulin changes dramatically. What you could once eat without problems now becomes a silent threat to your brain. Let me explain what happens when you eat white bread or refined carbs like crackers, pasta, or pastries. These foods are stripped of fiber and nutrients, so they're absorbed very quickly. That causes a sudden spike in your blood sugar. Your body then releases insulin to bring that sugar down, which can lead to a sharp drop shortly after. That constant sugar roller coaster is not just hard on your metabolism, it's devastating to your brain's circulation. You see, your brain needs a steady, balanced flow of energy. But when your sugar levels bounce up and down, it affects the walls of your blood vessels. Over time, they become inflamed, stiff, and prone to rupture or clotting. This is one of the biggest causes of strokes in seniors, and yet most people have no idea their morning toast or evening noodles could be contributing to it. Let me tell you about Martha, a patient of mine in her late 60s. She wasn't overweight. She didn't have a history of heart disease. But she loved her tea and toast, 3 slices every evening with butter and jam. It was her nightly ritual. She thought she was eating light. But one morning, she woke up confused and dizzy. Her balance was off, and she couldn't remember her daughter's name. A scan confirmed a minor stroke had occurred overnight. It was a warning, a message from her brain that something wasn't right. When we reviewed her habits, the culprit wasn't obvious until we looked closely at her blood sugar patterns. Those evening slices of white bread were spiking her sugar at night, straining her blood vessels during the hours her body should have been resting and repairing. Her brain, instead of resting, was under attack. The good news is that refined carbs are easy to replace. Whole grains like oats, brown rice, quinoa, or even sourdough bread are far better choices. They digest slowly, keep your blood sugar stable, and help preserve the flexibility and strength of your blood vessels. Even better, they support your memory, focus, and sleep. You should also be cautious with baked goods, cookies, cakes, and anything labeled low-fat, but loaded with refined flour and sugar. These foods often pretend to be healthy, but they're part of the same dangerous pattern: high glycemic index, low fiber, and high inflammation. When eaten in the evening, they don't give your brain the rest it needs. They flood it with sugar, increase pressure inside the arteries, and set the stage for a possible clot or rupture. And here's something that might surprise you. Many stroke events happen early in the morning, between 6 and 9 a.m., because that's when your blood pressure naturally rises. If your vessels were already under strain from a high-carb dinner or bedtime snack, you're walking into danger as the sun comes up. So here's my honest advice. Skip the white bread. Choose fiber-rich options. And if you really want something in the evening, try a small bowl of steel-cut oats, a handful of almonds, or a slice of whole grain toast with avocado. These choices nourish your brain instead of stressing it. Every meal you eat is either protecting your brain or putting it at risk. The changes don't have to be extreme. They just have to be consistent. You have the power to prevent strokes. You have the power to wake up with clarity, strength, and peace of mind. And I promise you, your brain will thank you for every smart choice you make, especially at night, when it needs your protection the most. 3. The fat you can't afford: trans fats and hydrogenated oils. Now let's talk about something sneakier, something that doesn't always taste bad or look unhealthy, but it could be one of the worst things you put in your body. I'm talking about trans fats and hydrogenated oils. These are artificial fats found in packaged snacks, margarine, fried foods, frozen meals, and even some peanut butters. And for your brain, especially after the age of 60, they are pure poison. I don't use that word lightly. But as a brain specialist, I've seen what these fats do. Trans fats are not natural. They are made by adding hydrogen to vegetable oils to make them solid and increase shelf life. Sounds convenient, right? But inside your body, these fats behave like concrete. They harden your arteries, raise your bad cholesterol, lower your good cholesterol, and trigger inflammation in the most sensitive parts of your circulatory system, especially in the small vessels that feed your brain. Why is this such a problem at night? Because your body goes into recovery mode while you sleep. Your blood vessels are trying to repair themselves. Your brain is clearing out toxins. But when your dinner or evening snack is full of trans fats, like that bag of microwave popcorn, frozen pizza, or cheap fast food burger, your blood becomes thicker, stickier, and harder to circulate. That's a recipe for a stroke just waiting to happen. Let me give you a real-life story. One of my patients, Daniel, was in his early 70s. He didn't smoke. He walked every day. But he loved his frozen dinners. He'd pop a processed meal in the microwave every night, something easy after a long day. He thought he was eating reasonably. But those meals were loaded with hydrogenated oils. He came to me after suffering a small stroke that affected his coordination and short-term memory. When we dug into his diet, those daily frozen dinners stood out like a red flag. Daniel had no idea that his convenient meals were quietly building up plaque in his arteries, reducing blood flow to his brain night after night. His body couldn't clear it. His vessels couldn't repair. And eventually, they broke down under the pressure. This isn't just one case. Research shows that people who consume trans fats regularly have a 34% higher risk of stroke. And for seniors, who already have aging blood vessels, that risk is even more dramatic. The brain becomes less tolerant to inflammation and poor circulation as we age. It can no longer afford the burden of these man-made fats. What makes this even more difficult is how sneaky these ingredients are. You won't always see trans fat listed on the label, because if it's less than 0.5 grams per serving, companies are allowed to round it down to 0. That's right, they can legally say it's trans fat-free, even when it's not. So you have to look for the real warning sign, the words partially hydrogenated oil. If you see that anywhere on the ingredient list, don't eat it. Not even a bite. I tell my patients this all the time. Your brain cells are made of fat. They depend on healthy fats to function properly. So don't give them garbage. Give them nourishment. Replace trans fats with healthy fats like olive oil, avocado, walnuts, flax seeds, and fatty fish like salmon or sardines. These foods actually help repair your blood vessels and support strong brain function, even into your 80s and beyond. Also, pay attention to how your body feels after eating greasy or heavy fried food. If you feel sluggish, foggy, or bloated, that's not just digestion. That's your brain reacting to inflammation. And over time, those reactions build into real physical damage that can lead to memory loss, confusion, or a life-changing stroke. So please, do this one thing for me. Go through your pantry. Check your labels. Remove anything with hydrogenated oil. It may seem small, but it could save your independence, your clarity, and even your life. Your brain is one of your greatest gifts. Treat it with the care and nourishment it deserves. You don't have to be perfect, just intentional. Every smart swap you make, every label you read, every fried meal you skip, it all adds up to stronger vessels, sharper thinking, and safer nights. 4. The sweet saboteur. Sugary drinks and artificial beverages. Let's move on to something that many seniors still believe is harmless, or even helpful. That glass of juice with breakfast. The sweetened tea you sip throughout the day. Or maybe the low-calorie sports drink you think is keeping you hydrated. But here's what most people don't realize. Sugary drinks and artificial beverages are some of the worst offenders when it comes to overnight stroke risk and brain damage in general. As a brain doctor, I've seen the damage these beverages do. They're liquid sugar. When you drink soda, juice blends, sweet teas, or zero-calorie drinks with artificial sweeteners, your body reacts immediately, and negatively. Blood sugar spikes. Insulin surges. Inflammation begins. And if this happens repeatedly, especially later in the day, your blood vessels, particularly the delicate ones in your brain, begin to suffer silently. Let me explain why this matters more at night. When you sleep, your body slows down its metabolism. That's normal and healthy. But if you drink a sugary or artificially sweetened beverage in the evening, your blood sugar may remain elevated while your metabolism is slowing down. That combination is dangerous. It stiffens your arteries. It makes your blood more viscous, or sticky. And that sets the stage for clot formation. If a clot travels to your brain during those early morning hours, when blood pressure naturally rises, it can block blood flow and cause a stroke. Even worse, studies show that artificial sweeteners like aspartame and sucralose don't protect your brain. They confuse it. These chemicals trick your body into releasing insulin without any actual sugar present, which disrupts your natural blood sugar balance. Over time, this causes metabolic confusion, worsens insulin resistance, and inflames the vessels in your brain. Take for example one of my patients, Lorraine, in her late 60s. She didn't drink soda, but she loved her sugar-free, iced teas and flavored waters. She thought they were healthier. But after months of struggling with dizziness, poor sleep, and memory issues, we discovered her daily intake of artificial sweeteners was damaging her insulin response and elevating her inflammation markers. She was shocked. But it says sugar-free, she told me. Yes, but sugar-free doesn't mean brain-safe. Now, let me be clear, you don't have to give up flavor to protect your brain. You just need to choose beverages that actually support circulation and cognitive health. Water should always be your number one drink. But you can infuse it with lemon, cucumber, or mint to give it a refreshing twist. Herbal teas, like chamomile or ginger, not only calm your system but also reduce inflammation. You can even enjoy a small glass of pure pomegranate juice or tart cherry juice, but make sure there's no added sugar, and it's in moderation. These juices contain antioxidants that protect the lining of your blood vessels, helping reduce stroke risk rather than increase it. The biggest trap for seniors is believing that juice is always healthy. Orange juice, apple juice, grape juice, even when labeled natural, often contains just as much sugar as soda. And unlike eating the whole fruit, you don't get the fiber that helps slow down the absorption of sugar. The result: a rapid sugar surge straight into your bloodstream, putting your brain at risk. Another concern is dehydration. Many seniors are chronically dehydrated, and that alone can raise stroke risk. But replacing water with sugary or artificial drinks only worsens the problem. Your blood gets thicker. Your circulation slows down. And the risk of clotting in small brain vessels becomes dangerously high, especially overnight. So here's what I recommend. Ditch the soda, skip the juice, and forget the diet drinks. Start your day and end your night with real water. If you crave something sweet, eat a piece of whole fruit instead. The fiber and nutrients will do your body good, and your brain will thank you. I know habits are hard to break, especially when something seems so harmless. But every time you reach for a sugary or artificial drink, ask yourself, is this helping my brain or hurting it? Because after 60, even small choices can have big consequences. You deserve restful sleep, clear thoughts, and a strong brain that serves you well each morning. And removing the sweet saboteurs from your life is a powerful way to make that happen. 5. The late-night stroke risk. High-sodium frozen and canned meals. Now let's talk about one of the most common habits I see in seniors, and one that quietly increases stroke risk, especially overnight. I'm talking about high-sodium frozen meals and canned foods. They seem convenient. They're easy to heat. And for those of you living alone or just too tired to cook, they feel like a simple solution. But unfortunately, these foods are loaded with dangerous levels of sodium, the hidden ingredient that puts immense pressure on your blood vessels while you sleep. Here's why this matters. After age 60, your blood vessels naturally lose some of their flexibility. That's just part of aging. But when you regularly eat foods high in sodium, you cause those vessels to stiffen even more. Sodium pulls water into your bloodstream, increasing the volume of blood and raising your blood pressure. That higher pressure puts stress on the small, delicate vessels in your brain. Over time, this can lead to a rupture or a clot, both of which are life-threatening. Now, the real danger happens at night. Why? Because during sleep, your body is supposed to rest and repair. Your blood pressure should naturally drop, giving your vessels a break. But if you've eaten a salty frozen meal or canned soup for dinner, your body stays in high alert mode. Instead of relaxing, your heart works harder. Your vessels stay constricted. Your brain, instead of healing, is under siege. One of my patients, Harold, a retired electrician in his 70s, came to me after a mild stroke. He was confused and slurring slightly but had no previous history of heart problems. When we looked into his lifestyle, everything looked fine, except his dinners. Almost every night, he'd heat up a frozen lasagna, canned chili, or soup from a tin. He thought he was eating light. But when we checked the labels, those meals had anywhere from 1,200 to 1,800 milligrams of sodium, in just one serving. That's nearly the entire recommended daily limit for a senior, in a single plate. Harold had unknowingly pushed his blood pressure higher and higher every night, until finally, his brain could no longer handle the pressure. The stroke didn't come out of nowhere. It was silently building for months, fed by sodium-packed convenience meals. What's worse is that many seniors don't even feel the warning signs. High blood pressure is often called the silent killer because there are no obvious symptoms, until something like a stroke or heart attack happens. That's why understanding what's in your food becomes so important, especially as you age. So how can you protect your brain and still enjoy a quick meal? First, always check the sodium content. A good rule of thumb is to keep each meal under 400 milligrams of sodium if possible. Look for labels that say low sodium or no salt added. But don't be fooled by phrases like heart healthy or light. They don't always mean low in salt. Second, consider prepping simple meals at home that can be stored and reheated just as easily. A batch of brown rice, steamed veggies, and grilled chicken can last you several days, and contain a fraction of the sodium. Or try fresh soups made with herbs, garlic, and a bit of lemon for flavor instead of salt. And if you must use canned items like beans or vegetables, rinse them thoroughly under water to remove as much sodium as possible. It might seem small, but that simple step can significantly reduce your salt intake. Also, be careful with condiments. Soy sauce, ketchup, salad dressings, and seasoning packets are often loaded with sodium. Try flavoring your meals with herbs like basil, thyme, or rosemary, or use vinegar and olive oil for dressings. The key is this: after age 60, your body is more sensitive to salt than ever before. Your kidneys don't filter it as efficiently. Your vessels are more fragile. And your brain is more vulnerable to pressure changes. So every extra pinch of salt becomes more dangerous than it once was. You have the power to protect your brain, starting tonight. Say no to overly salty, packaged dinners. Give your body the rest it needs. And wake up knowing you've taken a real step toward avoiding the heartbreak of a stroke. You don't have to sacrifice convenience. You just need to choose smarter. And I promise, once you do, your brain will function clearer, your sleep will improve, and your risk of stroke will begin to drop. Every little change matters, especially at this stage in life. If you've made it this far, I want to take a moment to sincerely thank you for caring about your health, for taking this journey with me, and for being open to change. The truth is, stroke doesn't care how kind, smart, or strong you are. It doesn't give you a warning most of the time. But it does leave behind devastating consequences. Memory loss, speech problems, mobility issues, and emotional pain that affects not just you, but your entire family. And yet, here's the most important message I can give you today. You are not powerless. In fact, the choices you make every single day, especially when it comes to what you eat, have a profound impact on your brain's ability to stay sharp, strong, and stroke-free. This isn't about giving up everything you love. It's about making smarter decisions that align with the season of life you're in. You've now learned how processed meats, white bread, trans fats, sugary drinks, and salty packaged meals silently raise your stroke risk, especially overnight. But I want you to feel empowered, not overwhelmed. Start with just one change. Maybe tonight, instead of that frozen dinner, you choose a fresh salad with olive oil and grilled chicken. Maybe you swap that sugary drink for lemon-infused water. Maybe you read one label and decide, nope, not feeding my brain that today. These are not small choices. They are life-saving habits. I've seen patients in their 70s, even 80s, completely turn their health around by making these adjustments. Not only did their stroke risk drop, but they started sleeping better, thinking clearer, and feeling more energetic than they had in years. It's never too late. Your body still listens. Your brain still responds. Your future is still being written, one meal, one decision, one day at a time. And please, don't keep this information to yourself. If you have a spouse, a sibling, or a friend in their 60s, 70s, or 80s, share this video with them. Talk about these hidden risks. Help each other check labels. Encourage each other to eat smarter. Because community makes health easier. And when we care for one another, real change becomes possible. Before you go, I want to leave you with this. Your brain is the most precious part of you. It holds your memories, your stories, your ability to laugh, cry, love, and connect. Don't let a stroke steal that away. Not when there's so much you can do to prevent it. You've already taken the first step just by watching this video. Now take the next one, and the one after that. If you found this helpful, please take a moment to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click the notification bell, so you never miss a simple, science-backed health tip, designed especially for seniors like you. And in the comments below, let me know. Will you try cutting back on just one of these foods this week? Just type, yes, if you're ready to take that first step. And if you'd like to keep learning, I invite you to watch the next video right here on the screen. It's all about how to improve your brain circulation naturally, without medication. You might be surprised how simple the solutions really are. Until then, this is Dr. Linda Rose, reminding you, you are never too old to protect your brain, reclaim your health, and live with clarity and confidence. Your best days are still ahead. Let's walk toward them, together.